It is the Matt Mosley Show, the E Radio Network.
The legendary Brad Sham. Hey, Brad.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, good to have you.
Thanks, you too.
I appreciate it. Boy, look at those books up there. If I only could know. I hope there's like a Frank Luxa book up there or something. You know, some of the greats, or Sam Blair, or some of my old or Blackie. Did Blackie? I think.
This is the sports shelf, or one of the sports shelves. I've got Al Michaels and Joe Buck and Bill Veeck and Yogi Berra and Tim Kirkjian. I got a Tim Kirkjian, Dan Jenkins.
Isn't that amazing to think that a lot of those guys you just mentioned worked in the Metroplex? Now we lost, Dan. That would have gone way back to when he was in the Metroplex. But that Fort Worth Press, I believe it was called.
Yeah.
At one point, Blackie's there, Dan's there. I think a guy named like Jerry Todd.
Yeah, Jerry Todd, who later became a very, very successful PR guy in Fort Worth, and Bud Shrake.
Mm-hmm. Gary Cartwright. Yeah. Who, man, back in the day, those guys could be kind of mean. I think Don Meredith found that out, and it's just amazing to read some of those old stories, Brad. But very famously, after one game, I think it was Gary wrote something about, and they, back then the writers a lot of times had really good friendships with the players, and had quite a bit more access than we enjoy now. But those were they were great writers. They also like to have a great time. And so there could be some pretty mean things that were printed from time to time.
It was part of the gig. And then they would go out and drink together. Randy Galloway was one of the great ones to teach me. When I first met Randy 50 years ago, when he was, I think, the baseball beat writer at the Dallas Morning News. He would write something really nasty about somebody and make sure that he put himself in that guy's direct line of fire the next day. Mm-hmm. And that was a great lesson to me, that, if you say something bad about someone, if it's fair, don't hide, just show up. That's how you have an ongoing working professional relationship.
When was the first time that ever happened to you in your play-by-play career or your talk radio career? Was there ever an opinion or something you said where somebody was quickly looking for you and wanting to address that you recall?
The first time it ever happened to me was actually that second year of the Rangers' existence, and I was just a little baby reporter for a radio station in Dallas that doesn't exist anymore. And Whitey Herzog was the manager, and a bunch of us they'd lost a game. A bunch of us were in his office around the desk after the game, and there was a great deal of uncertainty about who was going to handle a ball that was, I don't know if it was bunted or just a swinging bunt that was hit between David Clyde and Larry Bittner, who was playing. And I was 24, something like that. And I asked Herzog, now who did you want handling that ball? And Herzog bit my head off. And the next day, I was in the dugout before the game, and he came out. I'll never forget. He had his hat jammed way down on his head. He was very uncomfortable, but he came looking for me, and I was nobody. He didn't have to do it, but he knew I was there every night, and he came looking for me, and he apologized for how he spoke to me. So I did have an incident that is one of my all-time favorites. In the would have been in the late 70s or early 80s, and I was working with Vern Lundquist on the Cowboys broadcast, and they played a Monday night game in New England. And I believe Steve Grogan was quarterbacking the Patriots, and so he completes a deep ball down the left sideline to the tight end, Russ Francis, who runs about 40 yards. Now, I see, as Vern is describing the play, and I'm seeing the field, and the Cowboys' strong safety, who normally covers the tight end, Charlie Waters, is coming all the way across the field. So I said, well, it looks like maybe Waters blew that coverage or mixed it up or something. Now, clearly, Charlie didn't hear what I said because he was on the field when I said it.
Mm-hmm.
That was a Monday night. The next Thursday, I'm at the Cowboys practice field, the old practice field on Forest Lane, and Charlie and I are dear friends. Charlie came looking for him, and he got right up in my grill, and he shooed me up one side and down the other. Wasn't even my guy, and you don't know what to do. And the first thing I thought of was, well, how the hell do you even know what I said? And, that was a great lesson that people are listening, and they will tell the player, and they will probably not tell him exactly what you said.
Yeah.
The other lesson that was really a good one for me, though, was that especially in football, maybe 90% in football, what you think you see is not necessarily what's going on, because you don't know what the coverage is. You don't know what the assignment was. So it looks like somebody missed a block. You don't know if there was a combo block that the next guy didn't pick up. If a running back runs into a stack, you don't know if he hit the wrong hole, someone missed a block. And if you go back and watch tape of some of these plays, you can see sometimes a play breaks down because this happened 2 years ago. I was watching a game, and I was watching it back after the game, and the first play had just blown up. They'd run the ball, and it turned out as they tried to run it like in between the guards in the center, the tight end on one side was supposed to block a linebacker, just whiffed, and that guy ran right by the tight end, and he came down and made the tackle. Well, you don't see that live. That's why you watch the tape. And so those things are great lessons. And in football, and I think fans and media fall into this trap all the time. You look at it, you see what you think you see, and you therefore know. Well, you don't know. That's why you have to look at the tape. You have to ask later. And that was very instructive.
Charlie came after me one time after a Ring of Honor story that I had written, and the triplets were going to go into the Ring of Honor. And Charlie had commented how they were kind of moving past some of the older players. And of course, the headline that they put on the story at the Dallas Morning News was Waters rips Jones. And, players don't want to hear that we don't write the headlines, do they? They, once your name, there's only one name anywhere close to that story. And so I heard him one morning on Norm as I was listening to Norm Hitzges saying something to the effect, I guess Mosley wants to work for the National Enquirer now. And may not have been the only time somebody had thought that before.
It is not their job to know how the business. There's a great somewhere in this cluttered mess of an old desk I've got over here. I've got a phenomenal. It's a cassette, actually. I may or may not have had it transferred to a CD of some of the great obscene and off-color rants. And one of them is a great one from Sparky Anderson, the late, great Sparky Anderson, when he was managing the Reds. And they went into L.A., and he was from Thousand Oaks. And so the L.A. Times had written something in the headline about the Reds or Anderson or something. And the writer from that paper showed up, and Sparky never raised his voice, but he just proceeded to say, hey, look, that was bleep bleep. And the headline that, I've got people who live here, and, you try to be nice to blanking writers, and then they turn around and blank you. And that's just not, and the guy said, well, Spark, I don't write the headline. I don't care, except he didn't say care. Sure. But they don't, that's not their job to know. That's just part of the business.
Who was managing the Rangers that one year you stepped away from the Cowboys and did
three. It was 3
years. Okay.
Yeah, it was Johnny Oates who said one of the greatest things to me that has ever been said to me, and it's something that I remember and repeat often. I would go down with all the other writers around the batting cage before the next day's game, and you would, everybody would ask him questions, and so one day I said something like, "So, hey, Skip, that pitching change, now Eric Nadel had already done this on the manager's show, but this was for the benefit of all the other writers." I said, "So Skip, that pitching change last night, why this, that?" And he just looked at me very evenly. He was a very low key guy. He just looked at me and he said, "Well, that's why I'm down here and you're up there." And I repeat it all the time. That's why I'm up here and they're down there.
Oh man, Johnny Oates, the late great Johnny Oates. Hey, by the to the Cowboys, and when you were covering the Rangers, I was remembering some of those weird, like O.W. McDowell had a weird injury. I think he was like buttering a roll or something.
I was still doing the Cowboys then, I think, but it was at the season. The Rangers, they used to have a like a kickoff luncheon.
Yeah,
For a big fan. He was buttering a roll and he cut his finger with a butter knife. Took a big smoke out of it. He was out for a while.
And then it may have been Greg Harris. Somebody was flicking sunflower seeds one time and hurt themselves, but it made me think of those things because Trayvon Diggs is announced that he's going to be out of this game with a concussion. And Brad, this is under the file of there's always something. There's always something. And of course, coaches throughout the year, you're going to have different things pop up. But even by Cowboy standards, this seems somewhat bizarre. He had a concussion. He had an accident at the house. Coach, did he go to the hospital? I don't know yet. Been in meetings. Coach, what did they say? Did he fall down? Don't know. Don't know the details on it yet. Writers then go, Brad, as you know, and check every precinct in town. Make sure there's not a police report out there. But again, for a defense that's struggling in a big way, this is yet another setback. How did that news hit you today when you heard Shoddy announce that? Was it kind of one of those like, well, there's always something?
Yeah, but frankly, there's always something with this team right now. And then there's kind of always something with Diggs. He's got this ailment and that ailment. And, hey, I have no idea what happened. You said bizarre. I won't call it bizarre because I don't know what happened. I mean, he could have tripped. I've got a little plastic pad here under my chair at this desk. And if I step wrong, I can catch my shoe on one end of it. And I did this about 2 weeks ago, and there was nobody here but me, fortunately, but I tripped and just fell over sideways, almost knocked my printer off the table, and stuff happens. So it could have been anything. He could have fallen. Maybe someone hit him in the head with a skillet. Maybe he fell down the stairs. Who knows? It really doesn't matter. I mean, he wasn't playing. He's not playing that well. I don't think he's that healthy yet. And that being said, he has the closest thing to an interception by a cornerback this year. So it won't make them better for Sunday, but I don't know how well he was playing, and it certainly will be a setback for him to miss any time at all. But there's more than half a year for him to still be productive and have a good year. But yeah, it is always something.